This is Robert Kraft, and I am your host on SNN.Network. And joining me right now is Carlos Moreira. He is the founder and CEO of WISeKey. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is WKEY on NASDAQ. Carlos, thank you for joining me today. How are you holding up?
I am fine. Thank you for hosting me. Great.
It's great to have you on. So this is our first time doing an interview together. So usually what we like to do is I always love to hear a quick overview and history of the company. So with that, the floor is yours. Let's learn a little bit more about WISeKey.
So we are a Swiss company, very focused on cybersecurity, or our DNA is cybersecurity. We started very early. We started in the year 2000 at the big dot-com boom. And the company has been very focused on very high-end cybersecurity issues like government, e-voting. We were the first company in the world doing e-voting online. We protect the United Nations infrastructure in Geneva. We protect the International Criminal Court. So we started in this very high-end. It's like fashion design at the beginning. At the beginning it was haute couture. So we did it for design for specific clients. And then we went to the pret-a-porter, so everybody should benefit from the cybersecurity we develop. But we are very niche, very unique, and very specialized.
Okay, so just a quick follow-up from there. So started in 2000, started as you said, the haute couture for the cybersecurity industry. Tell us maybe some main highlight points along the history to got you where you're at today.
So first, the vision was that individuals will need an identity. We had very early vision on that. We were actually the first company in the world and say, one day this is going to get very big. Everybody's going to have a mobile phone. Everybody's going to have a connected house, a connected car, and cybersecurity is not going to be there. And we wanted to protect the individual. Our focus has been always humans, persons should be in control of their digital identity. It should not belong to a platform or to Google or Facebook or whatever. It should be owned by you, by the individual. And then, like you do in your house, you will give access to that identity if you give the consent. And our vision was then consent has an economic value. So everything we did was, making sure then we develop encryption, we develop apps, we develop digital identity, we develop microchips, semiconductors, that you put a digital identity inside, and from there you protect everything you have. And if one day you decide not to use it anymore, you revoke. It is your decision. It's not the decision of the platform. In our days, if you want to disconnect from the platform, you will never get your data back. The data is already collected, right? So the vision was that as we do in your house, if I invite you to have a dinner in my house, I give you the consent. Only once. Doesn't mean that I give you a key and you can come into my house anytime you want. So that's the vision of cybersecurity. And obviously, there was a startup at the beginning. Then we got a recognition from Microsoft, from the big platforms. Then they were saying, yeah, we need a company specialized on that. And this has been the trajectory of WISeKey. We raised enough money so the company could progress over those years, because as you know, there has been many changes on the internet over that period until we enter into the NASDAQ, which was our milestone. And we were the second company from Switzerland ever to be listed on the NASDAQ. So that was a major milestone for us.
All right. So one more quick follow-up from there. So then what is the solutions and services then that the company is now selling with that vision in mind?
So we sell what you call digital identity management. It's like VeriSign, DigiCert in the United States. We are their equivalent. And that identity is identity that you will use to secure your communication. So you secure your email, your digitally sign your documents, like e-sign. You will provide this identity into cloud transactions. So if you want to encrypt the data to the cloud. So this digital identity, that's what we call key, is the WISeKey, is the World Internet Secure Key. So it is the key to the internet. It's the key that allows you to put the safe area under your control and put inside whatever you think is important to be safe, as you will do in a virtual log. And then we secure objects. So WISeKey has its own microprocessors. So we design microchips. Then they are very tiny chips. Then you put inside objects. Then you want to connect to the internet, like drones, like medical products, like a medical machine, like connected cars. Before, those objects were not connected to the internet, therefore you didn't need that level of security. But once you connect those objects to the internet, and we're going to have 1 trillion objects connected by the year 2030, you then need to put security. So you need to put that identity into the object, and in order to do that, you need to develop a microchip that goes into that object so you can insert that piece of security into the object. And from there, the object becomes trusted and becomes an object that you can connect to other objects without compromising cybersecurity.
Got it. So just focusing on the I guess the Internet of, it's really an Internet of Things play on putting internet in the objects themselves, you know. But it sounds like what makes you guys a little unique and different is that not only are you have the microchips to then put into the objects to help them, you know, these objects have the internet, but also you're securing them as well. Is that what you would say makes you guys unique and different?
The traditional industry is that you have semiconductor companies, then they only provide chips, and then you have cybersecurity company, then they provide software. But the blend of both, which is what we call IoT, Internet of Things, is the new emerging companies. So WISeKey is one of the leading companies in that, because what we do is we put the same level of security that you will have in your mobile phone, because you use all the time, into objects. And because objects are only now getting connected to the internet. I mean, everybody talks about trillions, but the reality is that we have maybe 6 billion objects to be connected to the internet. Things are slowly getting connected to the internet, but it's not yet. Actually, COVID situation and the situation now in the world where people rely on very precise data, and you cannot just get fake data coming into your hospital or into your clinic or into your bank or whatever. That data needs to come from an authenticated object. So this is driving a huge demand on IoT that we didn't have before. So that's what you call the digital transformation aspect.
Right. So my next question that I can already imagine my audience is asking, so how many objects have your chips in them right now? And then what's the business strategy? Are you guys working with manufacturers and doing deals that way, or how does it work?
So we have already 1.6 billion objects with our chips in it and connected to the internet. Our projection is to aggregate around 500 million per year. And this will even go more exponential as the decisions are being accelerated to connect objects to the internet. I'll give you an example. Connected cars. One car needs something like 1,000 chips. In Europe, we are producing 30 million connected cars in the next 5 years. So the trend of connecting things are going to be phenomenal and exponential, and that will drive the demand on the chip. Then on the software part, WISeKey has one of the largest ecosystems because the software has been downloaded for 20 years. So that's what you call the root of trust, which is the encryption, is the private key that goes into your operating system. Your computer that you're connecting to me has already WISeKey embedded. People don't know about it, but they have been exponentially downloading into those machines. So when you connect the software that you're already using with the object that you're going to be acquiring, let's say that you are connecting your house to the internet, that is when WISeKey is a perfect match. And in terms of the monetization, so at the beginning, we started to monetize by selling the software license and the microchip. It's like an antivirus, imagine. You buy once, and after you get it updated every time, every day, or every month, and you pay just the updates on that security layer. But we produce a lot of data. I mean, all these 1.6 billion devices are sending real data to the cloud every second. And that data, if it's aggregated and analyzed with artificial intelligence, you can go back again to your client and say, you know, your car is not performing well, or your maintenance is not being done properly, or your electrical plug is hitting too much. So that information that we collect from the object has a huge monetization value, which is the data value. Data is the oil of the digital economy, right? So there's where we're going.
Right, I see. So that's where you're creating your razor blade. It's like, here's the chips, but really
Total.
the upsell is the data analysis that you provide that service on the
Exactly.
back end. Got it.
Exactly. So, I mean, internet companies, that they are successful is because they have a sticky recurrent revenue model. I mean, it's not good enough just to selling one. It's like you sell an iPhone, but obviously you're going to be updating the iPhone and buy the next one. So that type of demand is going to be exponential on IoT. Because once you have one object in your house which is not protected, even if you protect everything else, the hackers will get into that one. So that will become the Trojan horse for the rest. So every single manufacturer now is saying, okay, maybe I will put whatever investment I need to make in my object to make my object secure. Otherwise, you will even have liabilities. You know, there has been cases like the Ring. I sent you a video on that. I was interviewed when the Ring hack happened. And that, imagine people are putting rings into their house's door to open. Imagine that a hacker can open that. Obviously, you know what, you don't want that to happen to you. So the new thing is that manufacturers are willing to put the security at the moment they manufacture the product. Before was not the case. Before they had to retrofit the product, and that was very lengthy.
My next question is I really want to understand a little bit more about the economics for the business, because you mentioned that there's over 1 billion objects that have your microchips in there, talking about the follow-up analysis that's going to be available. But the company is just under 100 million in market cap. I might have WISeKey in my computer right now. So I just want to understand it a little bit better, where the company is at in its life cycle and the growth trajectory from there.
So the way we work is that our price is very small. So if you divide our revenue versus the number of objects that we are connecting every year, the price per chip per identity is 0.20 cents. So the reason why it's so low is that we don't want to aggravate the price of the product. The idea is to connect any product. In some cases, for instance, in Switzerland, we connect watches, luxury watches. Obviously, if a watch is $25,000, which is the case of a Hublot or a Bulgari or a Rolex, you don't mind to put a more expensive microchip. But if what you are putting is on wine or medical products or things that they have low cost, you have to be as cheap as RFID technology. RFID is still the dominant technology to secure objects, but our RFID doesn't have any possibility of securing and doesn't have any intelligence. So the idea is to replace the RFID market with the IoT market.
Got it. All right, so I want to also discuss a little bit about WISeKey's Foresight IoT Early Warning System technologies and how it potentially can be used to secure the IoT health industry, especially during our COVID-19 crisis. And I just want to understand a little bit better, how is this technology being used to facilitate the detection of future virus outbreaks?
So because we have this critical mass of connected objects already with our microchips, and also other people microchip where they have our software, which is also in a scenario. Before, they didn't send any data, so we were not able to aggregate the data. So what we are doing now, because the COVID is working with governments, and in Korea, in Switzerland, in Estonia, in many other France, including the United States, and say, what about if these objects could send the data that is specifically of interest for COVID situation, like let's say an infection breakout in a location like now in China. How could you, with objects, traffic lights, cameras, sensors, everything that is already installed there, collect the data in a way that artificial intelligence algorithms could analyze the risk factor happening there. And if that happens everywhere in the world, you will create like a tsunami of data that will be real time, not manipulated, because there will be no human intervention. Nobody will be able to do it. That will go directly from the object. And that data reaches our cloud. And our cloud analyzes that as a risk behavior situation. And says, okay, the temperature is collected, the identity of the object collects the geolocation, and all that data is anonymized, because one of the advantages of WISeKey as a cybersecurity company is that we can segregate the data in a way that we don't compromise your personal identity. So we don't tell who you are, but we tell them you have a figure and where you have been, because the cameras are detecting you. So this segregation between your behavior and your identity is essential to create those early warning systems. Otherwise, governments will never accept it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's all about security. You want to make sure that their privacy is kept, to the individual, and that, especially when it comes, especially right now. So then I have to ask, how is then the company working on expanding its current client base and geographic reach?
So what we do is that, again, we are still Swiss. So the reason of going to the NASDAQ was to enter into the United States. So I am recruiting now my team in the US. The company is accelerating big time in the United States. And then in other countries, which are especially very big internet countries, and they are putting a lot of efforts in what we call the fourth industrial generation, which is the entire city is connected to the internet. We are creating joint ventures and investment. So obviously, as you say before, we are trading at 120 whatever $1 million. This is not, we are still using Swiss valuations, right? Or competitors in the United States, they are trading at 10 times more multiples than we do. Because in the United States, IoT companies are very understood that they will be on a Swiss stock market. So obviously now is the time the company is going to grow very fast. And that coincides with the fact that the international demand is there. We don't want to be everywhere in the world. I think if you are in the United States, Europe, maybe China, Japan, the industrialized country, and then also help developing countries through our cooperation with the UN, then you have a very good footprint.
So then, Carlos, what would you say, from what you can tell us, are the 1 to 2 things that investors should look for now moving forward?
So cybersecurity was not the immediate investment type of priority for investors, and that is changing. That is changing because everybody's understanding that cybersecurity is the underlying investment that you have to make in order to sustain any other portfolio. Look at what happened with airline companies, right? The reason why they are collapsing is because they cannot ensure the protection of the travelers. So this is going to be more and more recurrent. Cybersecurity investment should be on the portfolio or any institutional investors that they are already investing in technology companies. They are obviously very big players. Palantir is going to be doing an IPO very soon. So slowly you're going to see cybersecurity company becoming very attractive also for investors because they are creating that critical mass required to make their investment of interest. And WISeKey is one of them. I mean, we are the European example of it. There are not many companies because contrary to social media or traditional IPOs, cybersecurity companies like old wine, you need long time because you need to build the trust and the track record. You just cannot create an IPO in a cybersecurity company in 2 years because you have to prove that what you're doing is secure. And that takes longer. But once you are there, it is also a long-term investment. So as I say, high growth market, 1 trillion objects to be connected to the internet. We only have maybe 2% of it is done. Huge possibilities of organizing data in a way that users can not only benefit from the benefit of giving their data, but also the consent. The consent can be monetized. We are also working very strong on blockchain technology because that's the future. The blockchain, if you combine with cybersecurity, is a very powerful match because you can decentralize some areas. And we believe that if you want to create a better society where the world is going to be more secure, where the people are going to be more protected, where individuals are going to be able to benefit from the value of their data, which now they are not, they can convert that into immediate benefits like food in developing countries if you sell your data. So I think we're going to enter in a much better world and nobody will be able to control it. We are not giving that responsibility to any platform. This is a responsibility that needs to be distributed by the individual. And if we do that, we're going to have a great society ahead of us.
And Carlos, where can my audience go and find more information about WISeKey?
So WISeKey.com, as you can see in the logo here, there's where you find the company information. And as the company is already listed on the NASDAQ, our code is WKEY, which is the symbol, NASDAQ symbol, and there you can find the financial information of the company.
Carlos, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe, good luck, and I look forward to our next update.
With a pleasure. Stay safe as well, especially in the US, and all the best.
All the best.